Hello and welcome to this latest edition of the Chopping Block podcast. My name is Paddy Stapleton and every week I'll be sitting down with a different guest for a chat about food. Whether they make their living in the food or drinks trade or they just love food, I'll be talking to a variety of people and exploring a little bit of their lives. Some of my guests you may have heard of before, some you definitely won't know, but what unites all these people is their love and passion for food. So sit back, put your feet up, pour yourself a good glass of whatever your favourite tipple is, and enjoy this episode of The Chopping Block. I knew that I'd get on with my guest today before we had ever spoken. If I'm honest, it was as soon as I first saw her stall in Sheridan's in Carnaross. How did I know we'd become friends? Simple. She was selling delicious cake, and I love cake. Since those early days, she's gone from strength to strength, leading her to move away from Sheridan's and open a standalone bakery and coffee house, right here in the heart of Navan, where we both now sit. She's also built up a formidable media profile, both on traditional media like TV and radio, and also on social media, where the Bakealicious brand is fast becoming nationally known. I'm a huge fan of what they do here, so much so that it was the only place that my wife and I even considered for both our wedding cake and for our little girl's christening cake. I'm now sitting here enjoying some absolutely delicious, really lemony lemon meringue pie that she made especially for today. So, Eimear Reynolds, thanks for the cake and also thanks for sitting down with me.
Thanks for such a lovely introduction.
I'd butter you up at the start.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll start off with 20 either or questions. This is just a little exercise to help us to learn a little bit more about you. So it's either or, interpret them any way you want. You can go into detail or you can fly through them, and it's entirely up to you. But hopefully by the end we'll have a little flavour of what your tastes are. Okay, so glass of wine or gin and tonic?
Oh, gin and tonic.
Homemade brown bread or sliced by pan?
Brown bread.
Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Knife and fork or use your fingers?
Knife and fork.
Red or white or rosé?
Red.
Breakfast or lunch?
Lunch.
Chips or mash?
Oh, chips.
Cheese or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Beans or no beans?
Depends.
You have to answer.
It has to be beans on its own, never beans with anything.
Okay. Chinese or Indian?
Indian.
Salted or dry roasted?
Salted.
Dinner with friends or dinner with family?
Oh. Dinner with friends.
Great, just don't tell your family you're on the podcast. Lemon drizzle cake or Bakewell tart?
Oh, lemon drizzle.
Takeaway or eat at home?
Eat at home.
Sorry, takeaway or cook at home?
Oh, cook at home, yeah.
Cook at home. Fine dining or casual dining?
Casual dining.
5-second rule or straight into the bin?
Oh, 5-second rule.
Even in work? No.
We used to do it all the time. It's grand.
Toasted or untoasted?
Toasted.
Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Barry's tea or Lion's tea?
Oh, Barry's tea. Yeah.
Very definite. And last one, is a Jaffa cake a cake or is it a biscuit?
It is a cake.
It's a cake, very good. So a few very definite ones there. Red wine. Barry's was very, very strong. Have you any Cork connections?
Yeah, my granny was from Cork.
Very good,
yeah.
it always is. So we're sitting here and we're eating lemon meringue pie. It's fantastic. My sister Jean makes meringues and she maintains that the quality of your mood affects the quality of the meringue. So she reckons if she's in a bad mood, the meringues will not work.
That's really interesting.
Do you agree with that? Have you ever come across that?
I make that at probably 4 o'clock in the morning, so...
You must have been in a good mood.
Sleepiness is good for it.
Your mood must have been good because it's fantastic. So let's go back to the very start and talk about you, about food and you as a child. So do you have a big family, small family?
I have 3 brothers. I'm the only girl. I have 2 older brothers and then my younger brother Killian, who worked with me for basically 5 years. And then obviously my mum and my dad.
Very good. And were you a family who ate together?
Yeah, we always ate together. My dad was a guard, and when he'd come home for his meal break at like 6 o'clock or so, it was basically dinner at 6. We'd always have dinner together.
And you'd sit around chatting?
Yeah, and it's still like that.
Very good. And what kind of a family was it? Were you a meat and 2 veg family? Was it a bit more exciting than that?
No, it was meat and 2 veg. Like mum, because I had like 2 older brothers and then Killian, because boys eat so much, there was always like... There was never 1 apple tart, there was always 2. Yeah. There was always like several cakes of brown bread. Like it was like bulk buying. Like when I think back now to the shopping trolley, it was like huge with food. And then when they moved out and left, and we were just like, but where's all the food going to go now? Because she was so used to buying. Like she would roast a chicken to have on the side for the boys, kind of a thing.
To go with the steaks.
To go with, yeah, in case they were hungry afterwards. Like there was always a surplus amount of food. So.
And what would have been an adventurous meal in your house? Like, would there be anything?
Well, like we always had roasts and that, and I think then when I started to kind of get into cooking and baking and that, like I would start making lasagna, but it would be like lasagna from scratch. Not that that's exotic, but you know what I mean? It would be kind of like from scratch, stuff like that.
I think for a lot of people growing up, that would have been exotic.
Yeah, and then like curries made with curry or with curry powder and stuff like that, and then like obviously like coconut milk and stuff like that, not from a jar.
Not the McDonald's
No,
ubiquitous curry powder jar.
No.
And how long before you started cooking and said to your mother? I mean, what age did you start cooking at?
Well, like mum would make like apple tarts and that when I was a kid, like when I was maybe 3 or 4, and she'd give me the leftover pastry, and then I'd play with it until it was basically black.
Yes.
And then it would go into the oven, and it would make jam tarts, to which my poor father would have to eat then when he'd come home. You know what I mean?
Nothing says I love you than eating horrible tarts that
And he
are black.
ate them. He ate them. That was the thing. He did eat them.
So did you start baking before you started cooking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm dyslexic, so I think it was something that I kind of did as a means to avoid doing written work or homework or anything like that. And even when I was in primary school, because obviously I was dyslexic and I got like remedial help or resource help or whatever, I remember that the teacher that we had used to take us for a morning. There was myself and another girl, and we would bake like bread, or we would make like curry, or we'd do soup or something like that. And it was just something I always really loved.
It led you to where you are today.
Yeah.
And you studied baking in college then?
Yeah.
So you got through...
I did my Leaving Cert, and then before I did my Leaving Cert I went to False Opportunities, and I knew I kind of wanted to do something like either artistic or something like that, and then I realised that you could go and do like chefing in college, because it wasn't a big thing at the time. Like it's about 13 years ago or so. And then I got the prospectus for DIT, and there was like a baking course in it, and I was like, this is it. And it was like 150 points, so I was like, there's no way I can't go do this. You know, I was like, this is it. So I got into Colborough Street, and it really began from there, I suppose.
And in Colborough Street, was it all about baking?
Yeah, like we did, so we'd have 2 solid days of baking every week. It was 5 days, like it was a course of 5 days. And then we did like, basically it's geared towards setting up a business. So you do finance, we did an awful lot in science, food science, how ingredients work, just, you know, basic knowledge of running a business, HR, stuff like that. But we had 2 solid days of baking.
And did you always lean towards the sweeter side of things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind bread, but I was never like...
But I mean like pastry, like
oh
pies.
Yeah, I always wanted to be, like if I was going to do chef, and I was going to be a pastry chef.
And is that because you saw how happy it makes people to be eating?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just always liked cakes. I always preferred making cakes. Like I do like cooking food.
Yeah.
But I just prefer making cakes and that. I think there's something, I don't know, maybe it's a logical thing to it, because cooking is like, you know, you do it by taste. Whereas like baking is basically you have to follow this to get it this right.
So there's more processes in baking than there is in cooking?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's chemical, like it's...
Yeah,
it's a science.
One of the things, like I don't know much about baking. I bake a little bit. It's why I'm interested to talk to you. But I always thought baking was just putting a load of love in a bowl. But then, and this is silly, I was watching Celebrity Bake, or not Celebrity Bake Off.
The Great British.
The Great British Bake Off. And Paul Hollywood is talking about, you know, the starches and the enzymes. And I was like, that's no fun talking about science, but it's such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe that was because he was so advanced in it, I suppose. I didn't realise that was a part for every baker.
Yeah, no, it's basically like it's a chemical. You're looking to make a chemical reaction. So like if I add too much baking powder into a cake, it basically will blow up in the oven, and then I'll come back and it'll just be caramelised.
See, it seems so obvious now that I know it, but beforehand I would have just thought it was really exciting and adventurous and no precision, just throw in whatever you wanted and amazing things will emerge. So yeah, I think that says more about me than about you. And something you told me before, actually, a long time ago, when you were in college, Bake Off started. Yeah. And your course rocketed.
Yeah, the next year. So I did the first year of college, and we were considered basically like a bit of losers, like kind of being bakers. And then the Great British Bake Off started the first year, like the summer I did first year. And the points shot up. Like I think there was like 50 in my year. And they had taken in actually too many mature students. So
in the first year?
We had a big year, we had a big year. And then the next year, so we were split over 2 classes. The next year there was like 4 classes, and then they couldn't cope with the amount of students.
So all of a sudden you became the cool kids in school.
Like, yeah, we're class.
From the losers in the corner, everybody wanted to know what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And tell me, Bakealicious, so how did you get into Sheridan's?
So what happened was I finished college and I obviously started looking for work. And I was working in a place, I was actually telling this story to somebody not that long ago. I was actually working in a place and I hated working in it. They were just like, this thing when you're working in food, you can get into like a horrible side of it.
Yeah.
And I was in the horrible side of it and I was like, I'm not having this.
And you were baking?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't really want to be part of this. So I told the person I was leaving my job, but they twisted it on me and they fired me when I told them I was leaving my job. But anyway, then I was working in another place and that wasn't busy. I actually really liked working there, but it just wasn't busy enough. It was recession time, like. So the day before my graduation, they basically told me they had no more work for me. And I went to my graduation then, and I was like, oh God, like what the hell am I going to do? My parents were like, why don't you just go work for yourself? So I was like, okay. So the Monday after my graduation, I signed up to a Start Your Own Business course, and that was really good. I'm actually very good friends with the woman who ran the Start Your Own Business course. So then I started working for myself. I started selling cake on the side of the street in Kells.
Right.
That's where I started, in a doorway. I don't think it would happen now. I don't think it would be allowed to happen now. But that's where I started.
But it's such a big step to put yourself out there and sit at the side of the road selling cake.
Yeah. I literally had a lemonade stand.
And how nervous were you? Were you confident in what you were doing?
Yeah, I knew what I was doing. I was good at it. Like,
okay,
not in an arseholy way, but like I knew I was good at it. Like.
So tell me about the first day you set up your table on the street in Kells. What was on your table?
There was scones, lemon drizzle cake, which we still make. I think there was carrot cake, there was brownies, and there was cupcakes.
And how'd it go?
Good, yeah. Like I think I sold everything.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And what was the reaction of people? Were they like me? Oh my God, cake!
I think they were kind of like, this is a bit weird that this girl's just selling cake at the side of the street.
And had you gone through any HSC things?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so you did all that?
Yeah, all that. And I was baking at home. With my
licensing?
Yeah, all that. Brilliant. Did all that. So we sold all that stuff anyway. And then I got into Sheridan's in the August. I had a friend that worked in Sheridan's.
So did you do Kells every week?
Yeah, we did Kells every week. Didn't miss it. And that's consistency is key. And then I got into Sheridan's in the August and I started outside their shop in a canopy, and then the winter came and it got worse, and then they brought me inside. And Sheridan's were very, very good to me.
Yeah.
They launched me, like, basically.
Because I remember the first time I went down, I'd never been down before. And I'd heard about it, and obviously everybody knows Sheridan's brand, but I didn't know what to expect when I went down. And it's so rustic and so cool. And then to walk in and find all the little pieces, and then to see the cake out of the corner of my eye, the red and white branding, which always stood out to me. So I was straight over to chat to you, and I was like, oh, hi, I'm Paddy, I'm involved in the Wine Valley Food Series. You know, my usual introduction when I want to get free stuff from people. But yeah, so how long were you in Sheridan's?
4 years.
Was it that long?
Yeah, it was 4 years.
And it was once a week?
Once a week, every Saturday, and then I kind of created my own space within their shop, and yeah, like Sheridan's, because social media, it was big, but it wasn't like as big as it is now. Like Instagram wasn't kind of a thing, but like
it's a very yummy mummy family kind of place.
Yeah, and like I grew quite a good business from that. Like we'd sell out a cake every week, and the amount of cake, when I look back now, the amount of cake that we'd actually have on the table
for one day.
Yeah, for a few hours, like maybe 5 hours.
And without prying too much, were you making a living doing that?
Yeah. Like I was I was able to pay my bills, I was able to pay my car insurance, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff, pay myself a wage, basically kept me going.
And you missed that one day?
Sometimes I look here and I'm like, do you remember when you didn't have as much stress? But now I kind of just had a hunger, and then we did the big event for Laura Lynn.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to get a shop. And I had here earmarked that we are now. Like,
yeah, because we're sitting now upstairs, and I remember coming in here, they used to have second-hand books. So I used to come in here and wonder, it was called Blackbird Books. And Lorraine used to do coffee, and she used your cakes.
We supplied her with cakes, yeah.
And Lorraine was lovely. But
it's such a lovely lady.
I think it was just lost a bit in Navan.
Yeah.
And I was so sad when she moved on from here. But then I heard that you were coming in here, so my sadness was kind of alleviated a little bit. So you moved in here how long ago?
It'll be 4 years now this Christmas. So basically it wasn't for rent, and I just took a fancy to the shop and was like, I want to put a cake shop in there, and like trying to just basically, I remember we went to like Scary's and I was like, I'm going to open a shop to my parents, and they were just like, okay, and they were like, where did you have in mind? And I was like, the bookshop that Lorraine used to be in. They were like, okay, and they're like, it's not for rent. And I was like, yeah, but we know the man who has it, so like we'll go out and ask him. So eventually he gave me like,
why, was he not keen on renting it to you?
No, wasn't. I was 25 at the time. I think people thought maybe I was a bit flippant.
So did he think maybe it wouldn't last and he wanted something more permanent?
Yeah, because I used to get that quite a lot, like, because I was 21 when I started, and people were like, "That's a nice hobby for you."
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, look, there's that girl. She must have made all them cakes last night.
Yeah, or her mom. Her mom makes the cakes. That's what I used to get. Yeah. And then it moved on to Killian used to make the cakes, and Killian owned the business, and I worked for Killian.
I know we talked earlier before we started, and you don't like talking about women in business and all that, but like that is a big part of it. Like the fact that people were looking to your brother, your younger brother, that he was the brains behind the operation.
In a very feminine shop with a load of antique chocolate.
It doesn't scream masculinity when you walk in here.
No.
So you're here 4 years, and you, like, from my point of view, it seems to have become very much part of the community.
Yeah. I always wanted kind of a communal business that it didn't matter who you were, what you did, where you came from, everybody was basically welcome, and it was like coming into someone's kitchen.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted it to be like.
And it's a real neighbourhood feel about it.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I sit downstairs, you'd be greeting everybody by name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people sitting there reading the paper and having their coffee.
And like customers have got to know one another from it. Like,
because it's so small.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me, I don't want to go into the whole Joe Duffy thing, because we keep it a happy podcast, but you had a bit of a stroke of bad luck. Crime where somebody stole tips.
Yeah.
So Eimear, what they do here is they put all their tips and they donate them to Laura Lynn, and they were robbed before Christmas.
It was the first week you come back in the new year.
In the new year. So there was a substantial amount of money that was going straight to charity from all the staff pulling their tips, and it was taken. But what I enjoyed about it, not that I enjoyed about it, sorry, that's the wrong thing to say. What I thought was a great testament to what you guys are doing here was the way the community rallied around you, and people were coming in and having a coffee and leaving an extra few pound, and you ended up getting the money back through that. Yeah.
We did. It was like, it's amazing because obviously, like the night it happened, I was here on my own and whatever, and then I remember coming into work the next day and just being so deflated and so kind of like that people basically came in and like did this to us. But then like the outpour from community was just crazy.
Oh, people were so angry. I was so angry when I saw it.
Yeah, like it was crazy, and like we didn't look for any media attention. I was just so deflated that it happened, and that somebody felt that they.
And
could
it is
do
easy
that.
to have a rant on social media when these things, it helps get it out.
Yeah, of course. But like it got to the stage that they like the lady who founded Laura Lynn rang us, and Jane McKenna, and like it had gotten to that stage, and it was just nice to see that people were just kind of like, no, that is not nice, and it's not a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I don't know, builds you back up and realises that you actually have created a community.
Yeah, well, it's testament to you that people did rally around. I mean, I know I put it up on my Instagram saying, guys, if you normally get your coffee somewhere else, go down and buy one and leave the extra change there. And a friend of mine in Dublin who doesn't come to Navan, doesn't know you, Paddy, had put money into your account when you go in and donate to them, because it touched a chord with people, because it's such a worthy charity and it's such a horrible thing to happen.
We got checks sent to us and everything.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the tips being donated thing, I mean, I've worked in restaurants and bars. That would never happen.
The girls are just amazing here.
Yeah, I still don't understand how they agree to it. Because I've worked in places and the tips were sacrosanct. That was your bonus, that was your everything. And if I had gone to a group of people I worked with and said, let's donate our tips to charity, I would have had the head taken off me. Like, I have the most amazing girls that work for me. And I genuinely, and I know if like we get a complaint and someone makes a complaint about one of the girls, it's probably not true, because they are just like, they're so loyal. And you obviously treat them well. Oh yeah, like we get on really, really well. Yeah. Like we get on really, really well. And like, I won't even say it's like, I won't say we're like family, because that's like a cliche, but we are really good friends, the whole lot of us. Yeah, and it must be. I mean, every time you come in here, the crack that you guys seem to have is very impressive. True. Let's go on a little bit. COVID. Yes. How's it affected you? We're in the middle of the pandemic at the moment. We're hoping to come out of it soon. But you've made changes to the shop. Yes. So we obviously had everything happening in March. And I remember the week that it was like maybe the 9th of March or so. I remember like there was a case broke here in Navan. And I was like, it's getting very close to home now, isn't it? The minute you hear your hometown, that's when it kicks in. Yeah. And Killian, who owned the shop, also worked for me, and now works for himself and builds websites and that. And I was like, do you think we should set up an online shop? Because we were planning on doing it for this Christmas anyway. Yeah. And I was like, maybe we should try and get it up and going now and see how it goes. So we basically built an online shop in 2 days, and that's what kept us going throughout COVID. Like, you were very quick off the mark. Yeah. I remember looking, going, Jesus, that happened quickly. Yeah. And how did it work? As in, how successful was it? It was unbelievable. Yeah, like I did everything on my own, because we obviously couldn't like social distance for packing and stuff like that, because I was doing everything in the bakery and that. It was unbelievable. Like we were doing 2 DVD drops a week. There were some nights I just didn't go to bed. Really?
Because I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? There's it's grand now hindsight looking at stuff going, yeah, there's government funding there for X, Y, and Z, but there wasn't when I started this off, and I was just like, if I can't keep the business going, it's goodbye.
Yeah, it was that initial worry that we all had.
Yeah,
what's going to happen?
We didn't know what was going to be put into place, so I basically worked, and then kind of when restrictions were lifted, the DPD thing kind of like eased, but like the coverage we got with that was crazy as well.
And how far were you delivering to?
Oh my god, like weeks we were sending. 1 week, like this wasn't 1 week, but this 1 week I noticed we sent cake from Killybegs to Valencia Island.
So somebody in Killybegs ordered it and sent it to Valencia Island?
No, like from all over. Like we were sending, like there was I think Easter weekend or the third, so there was a drop on a Tuesday and a drop on a Thursday, and I think I sent out about 500 boxes.
Wow. So was it as busy at, like, it was, I suppose you had no staff costs.
No.
So it was probably...
It was really worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
And then like for coming back to work, I could basically afford to change the shop to what it is now. And then like do the things that I wanted to do, like do up the bakery, buy the extra equipment I wanted, kind of plan.
It's amazing. I mean, I know we did an online table quiz, like everybody was doing online table quizzes, and our prize was a Bakealicious delivery of brownies, and it was great.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me like I was noticing you popping up everywhere. You got a lot of media coverage from that as well?
Yeah, we got a lot of media coverage from
that. And did your social media numbers rocket?
They rose, like, they rose dramatically.
And is it still going on?
Yeah. It's mad, like I get people, because the business has completely changed now, and I get people coming and they're like, oh, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, that never really happened before.
But are you still doing deliveries?
Oh yeah, we're still doing deliveries weekly.
And it's obviously not as busy.
They're still busy, like, and that's going to grow now, I believe, going to Christmas and stuff like that, because obviously we're going to have, like, you can send a box of mince pies to somebody below in Cork that you won't see for Christmas.
Oh, brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Puddings, and like I actually have started saving breadcrumbs for puddings, putting them away into the freezer, because I'm like,
it's July.
Yeah, but it's going to be like, I know Christmas is going to be very.
But isn't it great to have it to look forward to?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
But I mean, to put in all that work and to pay it off in the long run,
yeah,
to make the most out of what was a shit situation for everybody.
Yeah,
it's great. And I'm sure you noticed when you had time, when you weren't working every hour of the night, to see on people's social media the baking explosion that happened.
But sure, we did recipes. I sent out recipes in newsletters, and we put up recipes that people could basically use them and whatever else. And like I sent out this like flourless chocolate cake recipe, and I'm still getting pictures of that.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you think people with the baking explosion, think people appreciate it? Oh my god, what they do is really difficult.
Yeah. People will still go and make a curry and stuff like that, but they will still come and buy their cake.
Yeah.
Like they don't particularly like baking. I can see why though, because you have leftover stuff, like you've leftover flour and that.
But so many things can go wrong with baking as well.
Yeah, true, yeah. And it depends on your oven then as well.
Yeah, because I tried my hand at a few things and there was some success and some disasters. So you have the hatch put in downstairs now.
Hatch put in downstairs.
So you're selling coffee, cakes, sandwiches through the window?
Yeah.
And summertime, that's okay. What's the plan for the winter?
Wintertime, we're going to have the shop that you can come into it, and
hopefully.
It's going to be basically retail for the moment. We're not doing sit down.
Yeah.
Just because it's too small here to do it.
And have you had anybody complain or anybody try to come in, or does everybody
like
understand?
we haven't had. No, everybody's been quite like decent about it, and they like you can only do your best. I think that's one thing I've really learned about COVID is just like if somebody comes and like says like something to you negative or that, you're just like, unless it's really needed, like if the cake was like terrible or whatever. If it's just a passing comment that they're just like, well, I think you should do this, you just go, yeah, that's no problem, and it just goes over your head.
Yeah, you don't know my business, I will pay you.
That's it.
I'll smile and nod.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do occasion cakes during COVID?
No, because we couldn't. I didn't want to be. Basically, we shut the shop quite quickly as well because I didn't want to be bringing numbers out and that. We stopped doing occasion cakes and that because like I would be travelling with them. I didn't really want to be going out travelling, dropping them off at people's houses. You didn't know what you were going to be meeting. Do you know what I mean? There was kind of that like...
Yeah, so that you couldn't risk sending them by DPD, I suppose.
No, we couldn't do sending occasion cakes by DPD. Yeah. I wish I could, but they would end up in smithereens.
Yeah, and it's one thing I was going to ask you. So obviously we had our wedding cake. We had lemon drizzle cake.
Yes.
Extra lemony. And we had carrot cake. And it must be a huge responsibility doing somebody's wedding cake.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, are you panicking doing it? Are you, oh my God, it's finished, thankfully it hasn't. And then to get it, like you dropped our wedding cake to the head for our venue. Yeah. Like, that must be...
Yeah, I don't really think
Are you used to it?
I'm used to it. We had a wedding cake, like, the August Bank Holiday weekend last year. We had 3 wedding cakes. We had one for Cork, one for Tankerstown, and then we had, like, a gluten-free, really fragile cake for... It was Durhamstown Castle, actually. and that cake collapsed the night before. Had to remake that, and then I came into the shop in the morning. Then them was going to deliver the cake to Tankerstown, and my car, the stop-start thing had gone in my car, and then the next day I was supposed to drive to Cork. So basically we weren't allowed to put the air conditioning on the car because it would drain the battery too much. So we had to drive from Navan to Cork and not stop the car and get down to Inchydoney, and not obviously let on that this was happening. Drop the cake. Cake was grand. It was also like a gluten-free vegan cake, so it was like quite fragile as well. Got it there, and then we drank wine after that.
I would imagine that's... Yeah. And did the client ever find out?
No, they never find out.
Okay.
You have to be the swan.
So I might put a blank over, or like a beeping sound over Inchydoney just in case they end up listening to this. Or maybe they'll appreciate it.
The two girls that we made it for they're really nice, and they're two good customers, so they'd probably get a good laugh out of it.
Right, well, but now they would. At the time, maybe not.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we'll move on a little bit. We'll just talk about you. If you get out, you're not baking late into the night. How many nights a week would you bake?
Well, we're only open 4 days in the shop now, so probably 4 solid nights of baking.
Are you enjoying a little bit more time to yourself?
Yeah, it's a lot nicer.
Okay, so imagine it's pre-COVID and you have time to go out.
Yeah.
You can go to any restaurant you want. Where's your favourite place to eat? If you have one. Or favourite places?
My favourite places. I'm trying to think now.
Do you have any regular haunts in Navan, or do you go to Dublin, or do you travel?
I go to Dublin, and like my friend, like it's funny. I think I prefer lunch than dinner. So like I love going to like the Pepper Pot, and my friend lives out in Monkstown, and I love going to Salt out there. Do you ever go to Salt?
No.
It's Avoca, but it's Salt. And I remember when we were really like 2 very poor students, we would still go to Salt after a night out.
So is Avoca like a...
It's like the restaurant part of Avoca.
Okay. So even though you're a poor student, you're spending...
Oh yeah, and we'd spend like, €30 each on like half a roast chicken and fancy lemonade.
I'm like you, I have to get a tyre for the car. 70 quid, you're mad. Dinner, 150 quid, no problem.
Yeah. So I think I prefer lunch. Like the Fumbly is very tasty.
Yeah, I know the Fumbly.
Yeah, and the Cake Cafe. Like I love like kind of like lunch places.
And Cake Cafe is kind of funky. A little bit of the vibe here going on.
Yeah, it'd be quite similar.
And say you're going for dinner in Navan.
If I was going for dinner in Navan, Roommate is very tasty.
Okay, yeah.
I used to love the Russell though as well.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
The Russell, yeah. Do you have any weaknesses? I mean, are you into jellies or chocolate or crisps? Is there anything that you...
I have rediscovered hash browns.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't look upon that as a weakness. I'd look upon that as a strength. Actually, Roommate's hash browns for breakfast are amazing.
Very tasty.
Yeah. Do you make your own, or do you have to have them served in front of you?
They're frozen. Like frozen.
Oh, you want those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, you have to have the homemade ones.
God, no, they're very tasty.
So you're baking at home middle of the night. I just want a few frozen hash browns. And what about junk food? Would you be a junk food fan?
No. Like, I do love McDonald's, but like, I don't really eat it that much.
Would it be a hangover?
Yeah, like I remember the week that COVID was closing everything down, I think I had 3 McDonald's that
just
week.
To have it.
Yeah, just to have it. But no, junk food wouldn't really be a thing.
At all?
No, not really.
Good.
Genuinely, no.
See, I like to look for myself as a food person.
Yeah.
And you nearly have that little bit of shame going, I'd like a battered sausage from the valley every once in a while. So you have a family of 5, 3 brothers. Yourself and your mum and dad.
Yeah.
Do you get together much anymore?
Well, my 2 brothers live in the UK. I have one in Glasgow and I have another one in London. So kind of whenever we can.
Would they be home at Christmas?
Yeah, but they come kind of... Because they both have kids now, so it's kind of like whenever they can, yeah.
So what's Christmas like in the Reynolds family, food-wise?
There'd be the 4 of us, myself, Killian, Mum and Dad, and I would do dinner. Obviously, Mum would help, but we would do dinner, but I'd kind of set the menu or whatever. So we always have pâté.
Pâté, yes.
I love pâté so much. I make the pâté,
pork, chicken.
Oh, chicken livers. We get them from McGrain's.
Me too.
And make that. Then we'd have a normal dinner of turkey and ham.
So traditional.
Yeah, and obviously loads of butter under the skin and stuff.
And you're drinking red wine with it.
Yeah, and loads of sugar on top of the ham and veg and stuff like that. And then for dessert, dessert kind of in our house is
you're having it every day.
I won't say that it's not amazing because we basically we're that tired. We're just let's have pudding that's left over from the shop. That kind of a thing. And then we'd always have stuff left over from here for Christmas. So we'd always have mince pies and that.
So there's always stuff there.
Yeah.
And do you get people calling around knowing that you're going to have spare mince pies?
Yeah, like last year it was actually a bit of a joke because people were like coming in the middle of January going, "Do you have any more mince pies?" And you're like, "No, they're done."
And do people expect free mince pies from your family and friends?
Oh yeah, like people always like this is the funny thing. People always think that there is always cake in our house because we don't really eat it.
Yeah.
But then like they'd see like a Brennan sliced pan in the press and they're like, "Oh, do you not have bread on top here?" Do you know what I mean?
You should just tell them, talk to Killian, he's the real boss.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're all alone at home, your parents are gone, Killian is out, you're sitting on your own, you're going to make yourself a meal, you're going to treat yourself. What are you going to...
Pasta.
Pasta?
Yeah,
anything
pasta.
in particular?
No, there's this pasta recipe that I quite like, and I don't know if this is going to be kind of sacrilegious, but it's made with tofu. It's a vegan pasta. It's really tasty.
Why is that sacrilegious?
I don't know, some people are kind of funny. I have an Italian friend and she probably would hate me saying that.
They tend to, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mushroom pasta made with like silken tofu, and it's like creamy pasta, mushroomy deliciousness.
It's a big bowl of comfort food.
Yeah.
Yeah, winter food. And if you couldn't live without an ingredient or without a kind of food, there's one thing that you have to sustain you. And you can probably say flour if you want, because I know how important it is to hear your spelt flour. But if you had to pick one thing that you could not live without, what would it be?
Salt.
Really?
Yeah.
So
it's so important. Like, it's so important for flavour and everything.
And ACL, if you're talking baking scientifically.
Just like, I have kind of, people are kind of like scared about, we use salted butter.
Yeah.
So everything we make is with salted butter. None of this...
you never use unsalted?
Never use unsalted, even in the icing and everything, because it brings out the flavour.
And I'm guessing, having eaten all your cakes, you're using proper butter all the time.
Yeah, always proper butter. There's that comes on to our next thing. I just don't like margarine at all, so it's always
flora or
none of that. No, it's always butter, and then there's always like a bit of salt added in. The top tip, I think, like for dairy-free bacon, is to add in a bit of salt, because the salt, there's obviously when you're using like oil or whatever, there's no salt in the oil, and the salt is what brings out the flavour.
So the salt from the butter would be your
it's slightly lax. Bacon kind of lax when you don't have that bit of salt in it.
And then if there was an ingredient you could rid, I think I can guess what you said there, if you could get rid of one ingredient from the world.
Margarine.
Margarine, really?
Yeah, it's so bad for you.
And say you were to put a cake in front of me made with butter and the exact same cake made with margarine, would I notice a difference?
Oh, you'd have to notice the difference, yeah.
You'd be disappointed me if I didn't.
Yeah, like the crumb texture and everything is... But icing made with margarine is disgusting.
I can't imagine.
It's rotten. It's horrible, like.
So margarine, be gone. We're getting rid of you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very interesting talking to you, and I can actually see the science coming out a little bit, and your passion is admirable.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, it's your business, and I mean, you've built it up to this, so it's great. Let's talk about alcohol. Let's talk about drink.
Okay.
So, I know you're a drinker because you said you prefer red wine to white and rosé. What kind of drinker are you? Are you an occasional drinker? Are you a weekend drinker?
Oh, very occasional.
Very occasional.
I don't drink that much. I do like a nice drink though. Like I really like gin and tonic and that. And even before it was trendy. But no, I do, and I like a good cocktail.
You liked gin and tonic so long ago it was in a tall glass, not a big fishbowl.
Yeah.
What kind of cocktail would you... Say you're going into a pub, what kind of cocktail?
Oh, like we went out for dinner there like 2 weekends ago and had Aperol Spritz.
Nice.
But I do love like mojito and stuff like that. Like something that's kind of like fresh.
Or
an espresso martini.
The classic.
Yeah.
I'm always a bit wary with mojitos because a bad mojito is so bad.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to know that you're getting them. Do you remember your first drink?
Oh my god, yeah. It was probably like vodka and lemonade.
Do you remember it specifically? Do you remember what age you were? Do you remember?
Oh god, yeah. This probably is a bit. I remember when we were on holidays in Cork, and like I must have been about 9 or so, and they were like, try some red wine or whatever. And
your parents?
Yeah, and like there was never a taboo in our house. Not that I was being fed,
It's alright, your dad was a garage, you weren't getting done.
There was never a taboo with that kind of thing. But no, I remember like going out when I was like 16 and having like a vodka and lemonade.
And do you think because there was no taboo you were a bit more responsible about it?
Yeah.
There wasn't this, I have to get drunk, what's it like?
No, there was never that in our house. Yeah. No, there was never, it was just kind of like, if you're going to, they know you're doing it, like, so why lie about it, kind of thing.
Red wine at 9 years of age though.
Just try it.
And would you have a drink at home with do you live with your folks?
Yeah.
Would you have a drink with them? Would you crack open a bottle of wine?
No, like occasionally, but then again, like, I suppose I work so much into the night and that I don't really.
Probably be dangerous to be sitting having a glass of wine every night working into the night and then
it would be a bit dangerous. But no, it's kind of like one of those things, if you were out for dinner or that,
you'd have
that you're really away from everything, like,
And if you were to walk into a pub, your first drink, what are you ordering?
It would probably be a gin and tonic.
Any gin in particular?
No, like I have a really nice bottle of like Dingle gin at home.
I love Dingle gin.
It's very tasty.
Yeah.
I have the Listoke one as well. That's very tasty too. But I love elderflower tonic with it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm that basic girl.
Basic girl. I find elderflower overpowers it. That's me. What kind of a drunk are you?
Oh,
Are you happy? Are you silly? Are you chatty? Giddy?
Yeah, kind of like that. No fights.
And when's the last time you got properly drunk? Do you remember?
Oh God.
During COVID?
This is a while ago. I remember I went out and had a good few gin and tonics over a night and then paid price the next morning and never really drank anymore since.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find the older I get, the worse the hangovers are.
Yeah, definitely.
And you wonder, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Do you have a hangover cure, speaking of hangovers?
Oh, a lemonade. Yeah.
Cheap lemonade, 7-Up.
Oh no, like has to, oh no, Paddy, it has to be like the fancy lemonade I used to buy in a Boca,
Oh,
hand
right.
squeeze stuff.
Sicilian lemonade with elderflower.
Yeah, Amalfi Coast lemons, here we come.
Classy. And do you have a favourite pub?
No, I don't. Anywhere that my friends are. Isn't that really the main thing?
So drinking to you is social, it's not
Yeah,
about,
it is. It's way more social.
You don't have to be seen in the cool spots.
No, I'm not a very cool person.
I'd argue with that. Okay, I think after talking about hangovers and favourite pubs, we might leave it there. We'll take a break and we'll come back in just a moment. Welcome back to the Chopping Block podcast, where we've been chatting to Bakealicious owner Eimear Reynolds about her business and her life in food. Now let's have a bit of fun. So every week I ask my guests for a recipe. It can be something they cook themselves or something they love having cooked for them. I'll take the recipe, I'll cook it, and I'll share the process on my Instagram story. Now, I'm not a chef, so this could go completely wrong, but whatever happens and wherever it goes, you can watch along on Instagram. So Eimear, what have you got for me?
Well, I decided I'd make it for you and then tell you. So it's the
lemon. Oh, lovely! Well, this makes me very pleased. So I'm getting the recipe and I get to make it. Brilliant.
Yes. So this lemon meringue pie, I used to make it when I'd say about 11 or 12, and it's the same one I used to make. So I have your butter and your flour. So you have 325 grams of flour, 250 grams of butter. And you're going to basically put them together so they're like a thick crumb. Okay. Then you're going to add in...
Sorry, with the fingers?
Yeah, you can do it with your fingers. 4 tablespoons of chilled water and then 4 tablespoons of cider vinegar, apple cider vinegar or something like that. Okay. Basically, it's just to cut through the fat. Put that together, put it in the fridge and let it chill for an hour. And then, so what you're going to do is take that out, roll it out, put it into some sort of a pie dish, and you're going to blind bake that in the oven. So you want to put it in at about 180 degrees, cover your pastry with parchment, and then you put rice in. If you have bacon beans, it's fine, but you put rice in.
I've seen this on the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
So I'm testing your soggy bottom here. I want to see what your soggy bottom looks like. So then you take out the parchment, and you put it back into the oven, then your dish with the pastry in it, and that'll dry the bit where the parchment was sitting. Then you shouldn't have like a wet tart underneath. Okay. So then take that out, you can let it cool, and then you're going to make your filling. So your filling is 4 lemons, zested and juiced, into a pot, and you're going to put in 100 grams of sugar, bring that up to the boil, just up to the boil. Then what you're going to do is take that off. You're going to put in 6 tablespoons of corn flour with water, and you get your solution, keep it mixed, that's like, liquid. Throw that in, put that back in the heat, and then you're going to cook that until you get bubbles in your, as in like it's boiling with your corn flour in it. Then that means your corn flour is cooked out. Okay. If you don't cook your corn flour out, you will not get a taste of lemon. Okay. Yeah. So then you're going to separate your eggs, put 6 egg yolks into your lemon mix, and then 100 grams of butter, mix that together. It'll kind of look like it separates on you, but it doesn't, just keep mixing it together. Okay. Then you're going to put that in on top of your pastry, which has been cooked, and then we're going to make the meringue. So the meringue...
First things first, be in a good mood.
Be in a good mood. Don't do it at 4 o'clock in the morning. No, what you want is 6 egg whites and then 300 grams of caster sugar. So you're going to whisk your... Do you have a machine? Yeah. Oh, perfect, grand, we're sorted. So get your machine out, let that do all the hard work. Whisk your egg whites up until they're like
Stiff peaks.
Peaks. Turn it over Hannah's head and see how it goes. And then you're going to add your sugar in bit by bit. So just tablespoon by tablespoon, one by one. And what you're going to do is leave the mixer on, mixing for maybe 10 minutes. It'll just be like, what the hell am I doing? It's going to look so thick. But what you want to do is when you're mixing that, you turn it off, take it out, rub the meringue between your fingers, and if you can feel grains of sugar, that means it's not done. So put it back on and mix. Okay. You basically your sugar will cook your egg whites, and it'll make your meringue like really fluffy and lovely. So take that out then whenever that's done. You can eat the meringue like that. You can blowtorch the top of it if you want. Or what I do is put it into a really hot oven, turn off the oven, and then just leave it in overnight. And that's where you get the crunchy bit.
So the heat cools down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how you make that.
Fantastic.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Question. So I love lemony stuff.
Yeah.
I'd be tempted to put more lemon in. Mistake?
Yeah, because you'll make it too lemony. That it'll be really lemony.
Would it make, with the acids in the lemon... I'm trying to be scientific.
It won't do anything scientific to it.
It'd just be too lemon.
It'd be just too lemon.
So there's four lemons zest and juice. Oh, that's good.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that how you make it all the time?
Yeah, that's how I make it all the time. And if you have like a box grater, the easiest way to grate a lemon on a box grater is wrap your box grater in cling film, and like the fine zest side, it'll catch it all, and you can just pull off the cling film and scrape it off with a knife.
That is a fantastic tip.
Yeah, it's because otherwise you're like poking.
Because I'm always scraping off the board at the end.
And you're blunting your knife then as well. But see, if you do that, then all the oil from the zest will go into the board and not into your mix.
That is a brilliant tip.
There you go.
So if you take nothing else from this podcast, people... Okay, brilliant. That is fantastic, because I was going to ask you for the recipe, but I thought it'd be a bit cheeky because it's your business.
No.
So,
sharing is caring.
Yes, bakers are sharers, I reckon. That's brilliant. I can't wait to try that. I bought a mixer for my wife.
Oh, yeah?
For Christmas one year.
Present for me from me.
Well, no, at the time, no, but now it's looking a bit more like that, so I may owe her
Just make her the meringue.
Okay, that'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to that. Where could I go wrong? What's the biggest thing I can do wrong?
Your biggest thing that you can do wrong is probably not... your pastry will either sink in you in the oven if you don't blind bake it.
Yeah.
And you'll either make it soggy either. So make sure it's completely baked.
Yeah.
And then your meringue, make sure you whisk your meringue up and add your sugar in bit by bit, otherwise you're going to end up with a watery, sloppy situation.
Can you overmix the meringue mix? So
no.
if
you
I
want to leave it on, I'd say, for about 3 hours.
Okay, so don't worry about going to.
Like sometimes I go off and forget about it. Okay. And I come back and the poor mixer's like, stop me, please.
Okay, I can't wait for that. That's going to be fun. And picturesque as well for Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to... Another thing I'll be doing with everybody is I'm looking for your perfect meal.
Okay.
This is my favourite part of the podcast. So some people call this a death row dinner, but that's depressing. That's a downer. I want this to be a happy podcast. So that's why we're calling it your perfect meal. So I'm offering you 3 courses, drinks to match, but you can change anything you want. You can add anything in. You can put in sorbets, digestives, extra courses. You can have 1 course if that's what suits you. This is your meal. You can have anything you like. You can have your own cooking. You can have dishes from your favourite restaurants. You can have your mum's rhubarb crumble. You can have anything you like. The choices are endless. So what's on your menu, Eimear?
So my menu consists of a drink to start of either gin and elderflower or an Aperol Spritz.
Okay.
Either or. Because in my head it's like, 22, 23 degrees, quite nice, weather. It's not the depths of winter is what I'm not thinking.
Yeah.
So then my starter would be a meze, which I think is kind of cheap.
No. There's no cheating here. This is
okay.
your perfect meal.
This is a lot
you
of
can't
things.
cheat.
This is a lot of things.
So go for it.
So basically, like hummus, like halloumi, some sort of artichokes, calamari, really nice veg.
Tell me, mezzi. What's the difference between mezzi and antipasti? Is it the same thing as a different country?
I think it's just different parts, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's more Mediterranean. It depends on where it comes from.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe people out there will correct us massively on that, but it's Mediterranean.
This is a happy podcast. People would be nice.
Like chorizo, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like loads of picking. I love a picnic. Okay, I love a picnic because the idea of just sitting, kind of just picking at food is just.
But do I remember you said knife and fork when I said knife and fork or fingers?
Yeah.
This is a finger dish.
Well, no, it's not, because I'm scooping it up and putting it on.
Are you not dipping your bread in the...
Yeah, but see, when you say fingers, I'm thinking eating rice with my hands.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that with mayonnaise.
See, I just think I love eating with my hands, and I think everything should be eaten with hands. But the more I'm learning about this, when I ask people, I'm completely in the minority. But come on, Annie, what else is on your Etsy plate? Are you having bread?
Oh, we're having breads, good olive oil. But then I also love like fruit with it as well. So like peaches and grapes and figs. Oh my god, yeah, figs are delish. Calamari, prawns, and then I'll probably have that with Prosecco.
Lovely.
Yeah. Good.
And would you be a Prosecco fan as opposed to champagne?
Yeah, I prefer Prosecco.
Yeah.
I don't know, I actually do prefer Prosecco.
Good. So lots of bubbles, lightly bubbling.
Lightly bubbling.
I can see your plate with the condensation around the glass.
Yeah. In the summertime.
Yeah.
This is when this is happening.
Well, it's your perfect meal. You can have whatever you want. Great. And what kind of bread would you have?
They'd probably be like pita.
Okay.
Yeah, like nice breads like that. Maybe a bit of focaccia as well, but like
Mediterranean stuff.
Pita's good for dipping, it's not.
You have to have bread with everything in my house. Lovely. Okay, so you've cleared your board.
Yeah.
You've got your cutlery back. You've finished your bread. You've finished off the last of your Prosecco. You're going on to your main course. Or are you having a...
Oh, no, my main course.
Yeah.
So my main course, I when I think it was maybe 2 years ago, this girl, Sarah, was doing an exchange program with the school here in Navan from a school in Italy. And Sarah came over with two other girls who were only doing it for 3 months, but Sarah was doing it for the full school year. So when they left, Sarah used to come in to me every evening after school, and she'd sit and have 2 cappuccinos and a slice of like pistachio cake.
What age is she?
She was 17 when she came over here,
okay.
And she was quite lonely. And we basically became really good friends. Like I've gone over to Sarah's in Italy and that.
What part?
So she lives in Tuscany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'd say that was her. Come to my house.
And her dad's a chef.
Did you know this before you became friends?
Oh god, yeah. I looked her up. I was like, come to me. No, so like the food is amazing. Obviously, the food is amazing in Italy anyway. Yeah. But so I went over to her 18th birthday, which is like a massive celebration. Obviously, like, but it's a huge thing in Italy, and I've never seen such a spread. Like there were. I'd say cooking for about 3 days, like to get ready for it. And when I arrived, they made me homemade pizza.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and like I ate so much pizza.
Summertime.
Yeah, it was no, it was October, but that's summertime to me.
Yeah,
it was 23 degrees, like
Irish summer.
Yeah, them all going around with woolen coats and me going around with little flip flops. But so when we went to Sarah's party, her dad made. I sometimes still think about it. This lasagna. Like I've never had lasagna like it before.
What was so good?
It was just so tasty. Like all the food was amazing at it.
And silly question: did it look like a lasagna as we?
No, it was like much flatter, like much more delicate slices of lasagna, not like what we'd have here. That's like
a big minced square.
Yeah, not like congealed mess that we'd have here. Like just really, oh my god, it was so tasty.
And did you ask him for the recipe?
No, I never asked him. And I'd say he would give it to me, but I don't think you can't recreate it here because we haven't got the tomatoes.
I was going to say the fresh tomatoes over there.
And I'd say he made like all his own pasta sheets and everything for it.
I don't know any Irish person that makes their own pasta. So, did you eat a lot of this lasagna when you were?
Oh my god, when I went to that 18th birthday, there wasn't enough carbonara, and there was like, they were all like 18. I was like, well, it's 2 years ago, so I was like 26 or so, 27, and they were all coming up to me and they're like, you take it because you'll never get to taste it again, and basically offering up their carbonara to give it to me. It was so tasty.
Yeah.
And then the desserts, oh my god, the desserts were incredible because they're all like crazy looking colours.
Yeah.
But they're amazing. The taste is amazing.
Ice cream?
They didn't have ice cream. They had loads of like pastry sheets. It was like sheet tray bakes.
And do you find it hard to look at desserts from a non-business? Like, are you looking at desserts going, wow, I could do that? Yeah,
like when I went to her, like I think Sarah's cake was like a green colour, and it was like, like
pistachio.
No, it wasn't pistachio. Like it was like that cream that like if you got it here in a cake, you'd be like, this is going to taste like
it's
that.
Cheap crap.
Yeah, it sticks to your mouth kind of thing. It looked like that because that's the way their cakes are, but it was so tasty. The cream in it, the cake was so light, but they use different types of flour in that, and then they don't have the same butter that we'd have. I
always think when you're about the places suffer because the butter isn't as good.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
But they seem to make, so for their icings, it's like a custard base. Okay. It's not like our traditional buttercream. Obviously, it's not. Like that's an American kind of an English thing, but it's like a custard base.
Okay.
Very tasty.
We did our honeymoon in Italy, and half the reason we went was for the food.
Yeah.
Let's go back to your meal. Lasagna, what are you having with it?
So, I would really like chips, because I love chips. But
An Italian beautiful lasagna with chips.
So I don't tell Sarah. But they have to be like those like triple cooked chips that are like really crispy on the outside and like really, really fluffy on the inside.
Okay, if you say coleslaw, then we might have to stop this podcast.
Not too thick, but not too thin.
Yeah.
And then Maldon sea salt with that like flakiness.
Yeah.
But then they also have to have garlic butter on them.
On the chips.
Did you ever have garlic butter?
Yeah.
On chips? It's the tastiest thing in the world.
It's pretty, yeah, dripping off them.
Very tasty. But then also, and this is not a joke, a really good side salad.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you were going to say coleslaw, because
No.
the lasagna and coleslaw thing.
No. So yeah, so that would be my main.
Oh, very lovely. And what would you drink with it?
Red wine.
Red wine. Anything in particular?
No,
Sangiovese from Italy or Chianti?
Chianti probably.
Is Chianti Tuscany?
Yeah.
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 Did you drink a pile of it when you were there?
Oh yeah.
Did they have their own vineyard? Was it one of these?
Probably the man who like had the wine vineyard or whatever and was at the party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Complimentary bottles of wine for everybody as you leave.
Wow. And it just tastes better when you're over there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I love lasagna. I love Irish lasagna.
Okay.
And I always think it's better 2 days later.
Okay.
But I've had lasagna in Italy as well, and it is different. Obviously it is.
It's so different, yeah.
But I love lasagna, so yeah, I'll have to find the address and make friends with Sarah and then let on I didn't know that her dad made lasagna. Are you going to dessert next?
Yes, dessert. So my dessert would be a pavlova with like vanilla cream and strawberries.
Simple.
Very simple, but
And
very tasty.
Are you having it as a mess or as a...
Oh no, like a lasagna, or not lasagna, a lasagna pavlova.
Yeah. Layered.
Yeah. My God, there's an idea. So no, it would be an actual pavlova. My friends and I have a thing that we basically, if I make a pavlova and bring it to one of their houses, we have to sit and eat the entire pavlova.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's only two of you.
We're classy birds.
Would you make it yourself or have somebody make it for you?
Oh no, I'd make it myself.
Make it yourself.
Yeah.
Very good. And what would you drink with it, or would you stick with the red wine?
Probably just stick with the red wine. I don't really think of like
Dessert wines.
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's not a thing for people.
No. Not really. No.
Red wine and pavlova.
Look at Paddy. By that stage, you're probably just so full. You're just
Yeah.
like, you know.
And what would you finish off with a drink afterwards? Do you like a brandy after dinner, or an Irish coffee, or an espresso martini?
Probably espresso martini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That's what I would
you're happy sitting there in the sun, watching the sun go down with your meal finished.
Yeah.
Excellent. I like this meal a lot. Yeah, pretty good. That's pavlova, lasagna.
Yeah.
We've invented something, and it's also a sweet note to finish on.
Oh.
So it sounds amazing. I'd happily join you on your perfect meal. So Eimear, thanks a million.
Thanks for having me, Paddy.
No problem. So if any of you want to keep up with Eimear, you can find lots of delicious goodies on our Instagram and Twitter profiles. She's at Bakealicious Ireland. Sorry, at Bakealicious IRE. You can order online. It's bakealicious.ie. And again, I can't recommend her cakes highly enough. To you, the listener, thanks for listening to the end. If you like what you've heard, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and it'd be lovely if you left us a nice positive review too. We're across all the usual social media platforms. Just search for the Chopping Block Podcast on your favourite, and you'll find us there. Just a reminder, Eimear's lemon meringue pie is now on my Instagram story highlights. So if you wanted to give it a try, you'll see the recipe there, and we'll tweet out the full recipe as well. If you take a photo and share it, feel free to tag us and Bakealicious in it, and we'll show off your dishes to the whole world. So that's all from me. Thanks again, Eimear. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And to everyone else, farewell, stay safe, eat well, and we will chat to you the next time.